Hello, I'm Stephen Berry and welcome to the Executive Business Network, the series where we bring you leading business experts to help you solve the challenges facing your business today. And joining me in the studio, we have Heiner Karst. Hello.
Good morning.
Now, Heiner, you've been a CIO with many global organizations, and more recently you're a mentor and a life coach, and you're a published author. Tell us about the kind of work that you're doing and where your experience really adds value to organizations.
Stephen, a coach is a running partner. And if you look at somebody's background and you look at where they've gathered their experience from, that gets you to a certain point. It's what you do with that experience then going forward is whether it makes a difference or not. For me, being a coach is helping people make a difference. And whether it's from a life or from a business point of view, they are very, very closely linked. I don't think you can separate them. And hence we use the term executive life coach because there is a person involved and there is a business person involved. And it's guiding and assisting the business person be the best business person that they can be. That's what I love doing.
Okay. Well, throughout this film, I'm going to be probing you and establishing the value that people like yourself can bring to the executives who will be watching this production. So great to have you here.
Thank you.
And let's make a start. Heiner, you've worked with many executives around the world. Are there particular themes or trends that emerge from the work that you've done? Is there a sort of pattern that we would look for?
Yes, pattern's a good word, Stephen. There are many, in fact, unconscious level patterns that people hold, and I like to call them habits. We all have good habits or bad habits. Right? And can I ask a common question that I really love to pose when I'm working with a client? If you go back to this morning when you got out of bed, did you leap out of bed in anticipation of what it is that you're going to be doing today? Meaning, are you doing what you were born to do? Or did you groan out of bed because this is another day? I find this is a fundamental question that goes to somebody's basic attitude and to what it is that they're going to bring to the party today and every day. And at the end of the day, do they go back home, chin up, head up, chest out, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve today, or was it just another day?
So are you saying it's more a case of change the attitude rather than change the job if you're not happy in what you're doing?
I would start with changing the attitude. You see, the playing field when we talk about coaching is demands. They are relentless, all right? Quarterly results focus dominates everything. People are worried about, the media's just a sniff away. They're worried about, am I on top of things? Can I stay on top of things? And I think leadership is a very lonely place. People are worried, who can I confide in? These are very typical daily pressures that every person needs to worry about. We all carry insecurities. Age or seniority or experience is no prevention for those. Some of them mask them better than others, but they're there. And what I've learned as a coach is that the difference between success and levels of success is the way that we become aware of those and the way that we deal with them. And I think the question you alluded to here is a fork in the road question. Is this just about an attitude of me today, or is this about a square peg in a round hole thing that looks at, am I at a fork in the road here, and am I actually going to do something about it? I love using a story of a dog on the nail, where a farmer and a salesperson were sitting on the veranda shooting the breeze, and next to them is this massive big dog who every now and then would raise its head and howl in pain and then flop back to sleep again. A few minutes later, the same thing. Eventually the salesman says to the farmer, so what's with the dog? And the farmer said, don't worry about him, he's lying on a nail. He's uncomfortable. But he's not that uncomfortable that it's worth getting up and going somewhere else. And so this question of attitude is with us all the time. If we're doing what we were born to do, we wouldn't worry about that.
So if I'm not stimulated by what I'm doing, if I'm not leaping out of bed every morning with passion and vigour, is it a mindset issue? Should I be changing my job or should I be changing my mindset?
if I can look at it from a career perspective as well, how many of us fell into our profession? And if I look at the people in the audience to this particular conversation, how many of you, if you go back to the last 3 roles, did you fall into? And how many followed a plan, a life plan, a career plan? I've learned that most people spend more time planning their annual holiday than they've ever spent collectively planning their life or their career. So those are realities of the playing field that they're in. And so many of us get to a fork in the road at some point in time, either by an external situation or that they come to an internal feeling that they say, hang on a minute, there is more to life than where I'm at.
Well, conversely, though, if I am happy in my career and everything seems to be going well, is there still a role for a coach to play?
Yes, I believe there is. I'm quite emphatic about that because this is about raising one's game. If we take a Roger Federer or a Pete Sampras, in their day, they weren't only the best tennis players in the world, but they raised the game of tennis for everybody. Yet they both had a coach. So why would you have a personal coach if you're not only the best, but setting the bar and raising the bar? To me, that's really the essence of coaching. There is a myth that if there is a need for a coach, there must be something wrong with me. And culturally, those are very, very strong drivers in certain parts of the world. I like to look at it from the point of view, people that work with a coach already have a level of success and they are looking to keep themselves relevant and seeing how can I keep raising my game and my team's game. And this is where I find those that want to do that will see the value of working with a coach.
Heiner, I'm interested to know whether there's a trend around successful people having chosen a coach. Is there a correlation between the two?
I have a concept of bring and fetch. So I like successful people to surround themselves with fetch people. What does that mean? That means people that don't wait to be brought opportunity or to be brought a challenge or a task. They go and look for it. They fetch it. All right. So working with a coach means you need to have a fetch attitude. I'm doing very well, but I know that I'm not operating at my best. I can still do better. How can I fetch the ability to improve myself even more, to be the best me that I can be? Those are people that will look for a coach and will find a coach.
Let me ask a slightly controversial question, and I'm sure many of the people watching would have the same question. Is this an industry unto itself? Is it really just to make money for people like yourself, or is there really valuable outcomes that can be achieved through having your own personal coach?
Stephen, may I respond to that question from my own personal experience? I was a CIO in some major global corporates, and I locked horns with a very senior person in the parent organisation at some point in time to find a few months later that they were announced as the CEO of our local company and hence my new CEO.
Right.
And so I knew that CIO meant for me career is over. And these are realities, those are just the way that it was. And so I had an external fork in the road placed upon me. And if I look, that was nearly 10 years ago now, if I look back on that experience, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was at a fork in the road, but I didn't realise it. And I'd been for over 30 years in a corporate environment. I had a large measure of success working with people all over the world, but I wasn't leaping out of bed. And I found a coach to help me through this transition out of corporate and into my own business. And I'm very pleased I did for 2 reasons. One, she was great to challenge my thinking, but more importantly, I saw the kind of work that she did and I realised that actually that's who I am. And it was profound because it took a very short period of time and I realised that's who I am and this is what I'm going to do best. Now, the answer to your question in terms of is this just, am I saying this because it's make work or am I saying this because I believe it? There is, to my way of thinking, nothing more rewarding than to see a client through the challenge and the conversations that we have their light go on and realise who it is that they are and what they're about, and suddenly it is all clear what it is they've got to do. There is clarity, there is vision, there is purpose, there is energy. That's just unpayable to experience that.